Welcome into another episode of Hogs Hoops Report with Kevin McPherson. Ailey Weiss here as well. Lots to talk about. Big win last night for Coach Cal and the Razorbacks over the Rebels.
94-87. So if you really are enjoying these high-scoring games the Razorbacks put out there for you, you got a real treat. It was a road game. It was Arkansas's first true road win of the season. The Hogs now 2-3 away from home on the season when you add in the neutral site results. But the big deal is the 2-0 start, because you couple this win on the road against Ole Miss with the SEC opener on Saturday at home against a ranked Tennessee team. The 2-0 start, Ailey, that's the first time Arkansas's been that good through its first two games of league play in 11 years. You have to go back to 2014-15. That Arkansas team started 2-0 in league play, ended up 13-5, good for second place in league play, behind Calipari's Kentucky team that not only went undefeated in SEC play, that Kentucky team back in 2014-15 was undefeated in the regular season, didn't lose till deep in the NCAA tournament. And so Hog fans probably remember that marker. But as good as Arkansas's been in some postseasons in the last several years, when you look at a couple of Elite Eight runs, and then that was followed up with a couple of Sweet 16 runs, for the last 5 years, Arkansas has had some major postseason success. They just haven't started well in league play. Last year it was 0-5. This time around, you're getting the 2-0 start. And so where it goes from here, you always want to be better in February and March, but a great start for an Arkansas team that continues to improve. Arkansas now picked up its first quad 2 win of the season as well. That game is, as much as Ole Miss is struggling, you look at that 8-7 record, 0-2 to start league play. It was a big win for the Razorbacks. I might have jumped ahead and covered some stuff we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but from individual standpoints, offense, defense, we got a lot to talk about. But just getting that win, knowing that the recent history, I mean, it feels like forever that you won back-to-back games to start league play. I mean, you just got to get over that hump one way or another, whether it's a win over a ranked team like Tennessee or a team that's struggling like Ole Miss.
Yep.
Once you're in league play, there are no guarantees. Playing on the road's difficult as can be, so you take them any way you can get them.
Any SEC game is going to be a competition, no doubt about it. We were talking earlier this week about going into this Ole Miss game. You said you thought Arkansas could win. It's not a no-brainer, but that they could win. What challenges did Ole Miss bring to the table for Arkansas that surprised you?
Well, to me, anytime a team is struggling, but they get a home game in league play and they're just getting into their league games, they're trying to get their season turned around. Whatever wasn't working in non-conference, it's kind of a new slate, a new opportunity. League games present different things. Everybody's more familiar with each other. So you're just trying to figure out a way to get over the hump and then pick up a quality win. That would have been a quad 1 win for Ole Miss on its home court, because Arkansas is ranked inside the net, top 30. So I think Ole Miss took advantage of some early Arkansas mistakes, some self-inflicted wounds, and some defensive letdowns. We've seen it all year from this Arkansas team. Defense is not the strength, and Ole Miss capitalized on it. And the longer you let a team see some success and have success, the more confidence they have, and the more that they're able to snowball that in a good way, and it allowed Ole Miss to sustain it. So I don't think it's as much about what Ole Miss did as much as it was the vulnerabilities of this Arkansas team, which, again, has been pretty consistently on the defensive side of the ball. And then anytime Arkansas struggles with some self-inflicted wounds, because it's a high-octane Arkansas offense, rated top 15 in the country in KenPom, but it doesn't mean that the offense is perfect. It makes mistakes. And in this game, the Arkansas made just enough mistakes where they could never quite build that 10-point lead. And when they did get it to 16 with about 7.5 minutes left, there was almost a complete defensive collapse. So Ole Miss just hung in, and counted on that Arkansas defense to be what it has been. Not so reliable consistently.
What struggles did you see Arkansas face down the stretch that let Ole Miss come back and be within 4 points in the final minutes?
Defense. Arkansas had a 16-point lead with just over 7 minutes to go. I think it was 77-61. And if you think about the last 7.5 minutes, Ole Miss scored 26 points. They ended up with 87. That's simple math. 61 to 87 is 26. So in 7.5 minutes, I did the math in my head. Had they been able to maintain that scoring pace for the entire game, they would have been approaching 160 points in the game. That's all you need to know. This is an Ole Miss offense that came in ranked in the 90s in offensive efficiency. This is not an offensive juggernaut. averaging in the low to mid 70s per game in scoring. Arkansas couldn't get stops. They couldn't defend the three line. They couldn't defend stop backdoor cuts and easy shots around the basket. Couldn't stop fouling and stopping the clock. And Ole Miss, like Calipari said in the postgame, seemed to make all their free throws. There was a stretch there where Ole Miss, I think, scored on 8 or 9 consecutive offensive possessions. In that stretch, that's almost impossible to do playing 5-on-0. So, I mean, it's tough to do that. There's no guarantee. It sounds like I'm just laying it on thick here and that I'm just piling on, but this is a problem. Yeah, it's great to get that win. Arkansas is a good team, but the defensive efficiency numbers continue to get worse. And against a struggling team like Ole Miss, and your defense finds ways to make Ole Miss look good on offense, Arkansas is no longer in the 50s in defensive efficiency. Today, Kim Pom says they're 61st. So they're going in the wrong direction. The offense continues to prove, we're top 15 in the country. That will not be good enough if a talking point preseason and as we move along is Arkansas's got the kind of roster build to make a trip potentially to the final weekend, the Final Four. That defense, the way that it is, they'll be lucky to get to a Sweet 16 if this is the quality of the defense at the end of the season. Now, it's too early to say that, but look, we're almost at the midway point. 15 games in, there's only 31 regular season games.
Right.
Arkansas's got to get vast improvement. Not saying they can't win games and win big games and have a great resume. Navigating a tournament like that is really, really difficult if you think you're going to advance with a defense that, typically is going to yield a lot. It means you got to just outscore teams and be on point offensively, and that's really hard to do consistently in that format.
Do you think this is a case of a team that's playing down to their opponents, or do you think that there's a bigger issue at hand for Arkansas's defense?
It's all of it. I mean, we've seen some of the bye game mid-majors, get their point totals up. When Arkansas plays quality, the point totals are typically up. I mean, it was the end of the first week of the start of the season, and East Lansing, a true road game against a really good Michigan State team. I think the final in that game was it 69-66 or 66-63?
Yeah, something around there.
It was a 3-point differential, both teams in the 60s. The Arkansas defense doesn't know the feeling ever since. I think they held Fresno State to 52 points in North Little Rock. But, outside of that, everybody's pretty much getting to 80, certainly going to get to the 70s scoring. And then, as good as, again, Arkansas is offensively, the defense is going in the wrong direction right now. It's not to say that Arkansas can't get better there and won't get better there, showing no signs of improvement. It's really kind of backsliding despite the success. Arkansas, again, has won now 3 straight games. The Razorbacks have won 7 of their last 8. They've got some really good wins against ranked teams. They've made big plays defensively in some of the close games coming down the stretch. They didn't do that last night. They just had to keep scoring. Ole Miss was bad on defense too, and Arkansas had a lead, so they were just able to hold on to it and get out of there with a win.
Well, it was a combination of bad Ole Miss defense and really talented Arkansas offense, because Akuff doing his thing yet again. SEC Player of the Week this past week, well-deserved. You and I were talking about that last week. And 26 points, 2 big points down the stretch to really ice the game, and also 9 assists. Yeah. That to me, that's what's bringing him to the next level of, he's scoring 26 points, he's getting the ball through the hoop that many times, but he's assisting and making his teammates 10 times better, 9 times better, I guess, in this scenario. But he sees the court so well. He's able to dribble and drive. No one knows how to guard him because he can get to the hoop. He can body his way there. He can pull up for 3 on a fast break, or he can dish it to Billy Richmond, who's on the wing, ready to catch and shoot for the 3.
Yeah, this is the beauty of Darius Akuff. He is striking almost it's exquisite how he strikes that balance between volume score and volume assist guy. And it makes it harder to defend him because he's not a one-trick pony. That when he drives you, you're like, okay, he's really not a scorer. He's looking to find somebody. We can play off him a little bit and dare him to shoot. You can't do it because he's a scorer. But then if you play him strictly to score and you help, somebody's open and he's going to make the right reads. And so he doesn't early in the season, he was still trying to figure that out. True freshman. And he's not really been up and down ever since that Louisville game. He's been up, up, up. One assist away from his third double-double. And he's the 4-time reigning SEC Freshman of the Week. Might as well get him another one here. We'll see what Arkansas does against Auburn. We'll see what happens there. But, I mean, this guy, to me, could win the SEC Player of the Week every week as well, from what I've seen. And I think just the other thing is, again, doesn't get high, doesn't get low. You mentioned that ISO play at the end of the game. Ole Miss had pulled within 4. It was about a minute left.
Mm-hmm.
He just handled the ball out front and worked the shot clock down. In the past, Arkansas's had some good shot creators, and you trust in that situation. But there's just something about him. You're like, it's like a warm blanket. You just sort of like, okay, Akuff's about to get he's about to Akuff, and the opponent's about to get Akuffed. They're about to get cuffed and stuff. And that's what happened. He worked the clock down, got in the paint. He got deep into the paint, and he had a subtle little look off. He had 2 options to pass to his right, one close to the basket, one out, and just a subtle, quick little turn of his eyes that way. And all what that does, it freezes the defender just a little bit, and he quickly got his head and eyes square on the rim, and just a nice little soft touch.
Yep.
Roll off the back of the rim and through the basket. Now you're up 6. And you took away half of the remaining clock. It was down around 30 seconds at that point. Essentially, so we can look at stats all day long and go, oh, that guy had a great game. Who's finishing these games with these big plays when you might lose? You gotta have someone dagger. Who's bringing the dagger? And it's him.
Yep.
More times than not. And Arkansas's getting other guys doing that, some of that as well. But he's in he's in those big plays at big moments, which to me, I think this is there are other really quality players in this league. We got a long way to go. But Darius Akuff should be in SEC player of the year discussions. If he's not, people don't know basketball. Absolutely, point blank, period, exclamation mark, time to go take a nap. Akuff belongs in that conversation.
100%. And so he's one of the guys who time and time again has been making these big plays for Arkansas down the stretch. But another guy who's done it not as consistently as Akuff, but has been there and has been a dominant figure is Trevin Brazile. Also had a great game last night, 18 points, had a free throw at the end of the game also to kind of ice this thing out, Cal, saying that was a big thing for them down the stretch.
It's interesting. He went 1 of 2 at the free throw line in that scenario you just talked about, but Arkansas was up 6. There wasn't a whole lot of time left. But that free throw changed it from a 6-point lead to 7, and that's the difference between a 2-possession margin and a 3-possession margin. And with that, with the clock basically running out, Ole Miss never really had a clear shot at even getting to 3 possessions if they could score, stop Arkansas score. So that free throw was pretty big, but the 3-point shots he made were huge. 18 points, 4 or 5 from 3. 2 at the end of the first half. Arkansas was up 4. So in the last minute of the first half, he hits back-to-back threes. Arkansas gets a stop in between, so they lead by 10, 42-32 at the break. Then Brazile, I mentioned the 16-point lead with about 7.5 minutes left. Ole Miss had gotten it down to 10 with about 5 minutes left. Still plenty of time for the Rebels to keep whittling it down, which eventually it did get to 4. You mentioned that. But at around the 5-minute mark, Brazile hits a 3, goes back up 13. Ole Miss comes back, hits another 3 to get it back down to 10. Other end, Trevor Brazile, catch and shoot 3, and it's back up to 13. So even though Ole Miss would still continue to whittle to get to 4, if not for those big 3-point shots, and Carter Knox hit one late too, if not for those, Ole Miss might have closed the gap the entire way because they still had plenty of time. So you had to have answers. If your defense wasn't working, and it wasn't, you had to have answers on the offensive end. Trevor Brazile, a lot of those shots he got were off those Akuff drives in the paint and kickouts.
Yep.
And those are the kind of plays, not only are you helping your teammates, but you're scaring the hell out of the defense because they're like, oh, my God, we don't have a way to stop this point guard. He's beating us with the shot, and he's beating us with the pass.
Yep.
And you just keep them in peril, and basically, you're picking and choosing how you want to beat them, and it's a beautiful thing. And Brazile was a great compliment on the perimeter last night to Akuff's drives and kickouts.
We really saw the collaboration of those two. I feel like the first game we really saw it was against Texas Tech in Dallas. And that was the first time where these two really were connecting on another level. And they've carried it out. But I think, again, last night was another prominent game for the two of them.
Yeah, I love it that you have that recall because in that game there was a lot of pick and roll between the
Mm-hmm.
two of them, and Arkansas had tried that with Pringle in that game, and he had a trouble handling the ball in those entry passes. We saw that last night at Ole Miss. He fumbled one out of bounds. Now Pringle did some good stuff, 6 points and 5 rebounds, but Brazil and Akuff, they've got some stuff clicking, and it's not just kickouts. Because you said it, the Texas Tech game, they especially down the stretch, they were both making big plays, playing in concert with each other. It is a real weapon and a luxury to have that kind of combo, and I think you're right. The Louisville game is where Akuff really started to turn that corner in his decision making.
Mm-hmm.
He was productive, but it was the nuance of decision making. How much clock is left? How close is the game? How do we get our best offense? How do I make that happen? It's kind of started in that Louisville game, but I think he and Brazil specifically started clicking more and more in that Texas Tech game. I'm glad you brought that up because I agree with you. That's a perfect recall on your part. I wasn't thinking to bring that up, so I'm glad you did.
All right, well, stick with us. Quick break here, and then we're going to talk some defensive struggles. Welcome back in. Just pretty much went through almost everything you could think of that happened last night against Ole Miss, but there's one thing that we haven't dove in too deep into, and that's the defense. We talked a little bit about it before, but there was a lot of defensive struggles last night against an Ole Miss team that they should have held to many fewer points.
I agree, and I think if you want, even though Ole Miss is struggling, and if you look at efficiency numbers and things like that, it doesn't look good, especially for Ole Miss's offense. A couple of things. Some of the things that Chris Beard teaches his players on passing off the catch on passes, using head fakes, shoulder fakes, ball fakes, and just getting the defender a little bit more out of sorts so they can drive to an open spot. You saw a lot of mid-range looks, but Arkansas got lost a lot on three-point shooters. Some of the closeouts were awkward. I saw Arkansas confused at times, fouling a three-point shooter. There were times where Arkansas's initial defense held up. I remember one play where Akuff reached in on a drive, got a deflect, got the ball out of the driver's hands, and now the ball was there for him to get, and he kind of waited for it to come to him. And the guy that he stripped it from just took the extra effort, got the ball, and then dunked it. Mm-hmm. It's little stuff sometimes that look like big because they just start adding up when you those things are going to happen through the course of a 40-minute game. It's like, how often does it happen, though? If it keeps happening, you might have problems with your defense. So you can look at a myriad of things. We talked about how the Arkansas's defense closed the game. Arkansas was playing on its heels. It was playing like a prevent defense in football where they're trying, not to get a penalty. They're trying not to make a mistake. And when you're not really being aggressive and you're on your heels, that's when you're most likely to cave in and make mistakes. That's when you're most likely going to foul and stop the game clock, give the other team free throws. In Arkansas, it was just it was like a flood, an avalanche of poor defense in those last 7 minutes. And again, Arkansas had to. Its best defense was its offense because they were in the lead on the scoreboard. So the only way to combat that, you just got to keep scoring. And so that is not a way to be a great team, is for your offense to be your best defense. That's part of the equation. If you have a really good offense, it makes the players on the other team work harder, and that might impact their efficiency on offense when they're a little tired from trying to defend a really good offensive team. But that shouldn't be your primary number one defensive strength is your offense. You need to be better than Arkansas was in this game. And there were times Arkansas made plays defensively. It was just it's too many of these games where we look up at the scoreboard and, it's a track meet. And you can win a lot of games in the regular season. You can win some big ones. Once you get into postseason, if you think you've got the goods to go to the final weekend, you're going to have to be better than what I've seen from this Arkansas defense. And they've got time. We can't prescribe doom, but at the same time, they haven't shown me. I haven't seen a pathway to it yet. What that exactly looked like. Who's going to step up? A Malik Ewan getting tougher in the paint would help and being more consistent there. A Carter Knox starting to kind of round in. We didn't talk about him. Another solid game. 10 points, 6 rebounds. Good game for him after having double-figure scoring and 7 rebounds, 11 and 7 against Tennessee. He's kind of a physical guy. And he had a nice defensive stop against Malik Dia, the big man for Ole Miss, who's really good. Blocked his shot in the paint. So there were moments. But it's going to be a collective thing. The freshman guards are hit and miss defensively. As great as Akuff is, there's some stuff there, so they can get better. But I don't know exactly how to spell out when and how that's going to happen.
Is this a time and a situation, I guess, where you start to miss Billy Richmond and the minutes that he was getting earlier this season?
Well, Billy Richmond had a great game last night. 13 points, did not miss a shot, made plays, got on the offensive glass, 6 rebounds. I mean, he was back.
Can't really ask much more from him.
The Tennessee game was an anomaly. Remember, 15 minutes, he was in foul trouble. He scored 5 points and did not have another stat. I don't know that I've ever seen Billy Richmond not fill up 3 or 4 important stats. So it was good to see him back in the mix, and he brings an effort and energy. He's a plus defender. He's a versatile defender, and more players, as Calipari says all the time, need to buy in and pay attention to what he's doing and try to bring that. But he's one of those guys, as Arkansas tries to get better defensively, he's going to be one of those guys that we look at and say he's part of the reason that, because he was already a building block, right? So if Arkansas gets better defensively, he's holding up his part. Sometimes, he's like the stick of gum in the dam, in the hole in the dam that keeps the whole thing from bursting. He's one of those guys you can count on typically.
All right, looking ahead to this Auburn matchup on Saturday, what challenges do you see Arkansas? What challenges do you think that Auburn is going to bring to Arkansas's plate that will cause them to struggle, I guess, the most?
Everything we've been talking about. Auburn's
Defense.
a much better offensive team than Ole Miss. And it's one of those teams that when you look at the Auburn scores throughout the season, a lot of high point total games. So it's kind of almost not personnel wise, but it's almost kind of a mirror of teams in terms of both teams, Arkansas and Auburn, are much better offensively than they are defensively for the most part. That's been kind of the standard. And so it's setting up for another track meet kind of game. And this is one right now, thinking about it, I don't know who has the edge because Auburn at home is tougher, in my opinion. All SEC road games are. I think Auburn is a tougher place to play than Ole Miss. And I think the Tigers, again, because they're so much better than Ole Miss, and even some other teams that Arkansas has given up a lot of points to. When you look at the offensive side of it, I think we're looking at another track meet, Haley, unless they fool me somehow and a bunch of quality players are going to sit out for both teams. This is going to be a high-scoring game, and it'll be a toss-up. I don't think Arkansas can count on sneaking out with a 5 or 7 point win. It might be one of those 1 or 2 point situations, and a situation where we're looking at, well, which team scored more at the end or found a way to get one more bucket and maybe get a stop. Somehow get a stop. I mean, it could be one of those track meet kind of games.
Arkansas with a perfect start to SEC play, 2-0 on the season. Next, they head to Auburn on Saturday. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us as always.
Always great to be with you, Ailey. Thank you.